Hello, everybody, and welcome. My name is Will Tashik, the founder of Ambiguous Podcast Solutions, and this is the How to Start a Podcast series all about hardware. Hardware, yes, microphones, interfaces, headphones, all that fun stuff. Everything you need to buy and everything you would need to start recording your podcast on some physical hardware. Joining me, of course, with all the other episodes in this series has been Christian Wright, founder of Cube Recording Studios. Christian, my friend, ready to talk some hardware. This is really your neck of the woods as well.
Yeah, I'm ready to dive into it. I'll let you take the lead, and I'll explain anything that needs explaining.
All right, so equipment. Every successful podcast has impressive equipment. This includes a microphone, an audio mixer / an interface, headphones, and recording software. This section of the guide will break down different types of equipment as well as some price ranges. So, microphones. Let's start with microphones, and that is the analog mic, which is pretty much an XLR mic, versus a USB mic. There are two different types of microphones. So, Christian, let's start with the USB mic because they're like the most common microphones that new podcasters would buy because, you know, they're very easy to use. They're cheaper in price.
Right.
All you do is plug it right into your computer. It's very good for an individual who is just starting out. However, the big old con, it limits the number of people you can have on your podcast. It limits it to one in the same setting, and that's because your computer cannot pick up more than one audio input unless...
That's true.
That's pretty much true. Like, I don't know if you did a virtual drive, if you could do that with two USB microphones. I'm going to assume not, but if you're buying a USB mic and you know what virtual drives are, you probably know how analog mics work, so just don't do that. That sounds very foolish.
Yeah.
Now, if your podcast is remote, and you have all of your guests over Zoom or Google Workspace or whatever, Google Hangouts or whatever podcast platform you want to use, a USB mic is good. But if you have two people face-to-face like Christian and I, we could not do this podcast how we're doing it with USB microphones. This couldn't be done.
Right.
And now, Christian, like, what is the difference in, like, how do USB microphones actually work and, like, how it picks up audio compared to an analog microphone?
Well, they're not all that different. A USB mic is in fact analog. Because your voice is analog, it takes a signal and it changes it into ones and zeros, and then it goes into your computer. But USB, just because of the technology, the cable, it isn't as effective. And USB mics, unfortunately, they do tend to make a little bit of noise, just because you're plugging it into a port on your computer, and there's fans and all these things inside of the computer that sometimes it picks up on. To me, that is probably the biggest con. I think if that didn't occur, more people would use USB mics. But they are cheap in price. They're very easy to use. They're very plug and play. You know, you plug it into the computer, and the computer usually knows what to do. And if not, it's as easy as downloading a driver, and then boom, you're done. You're ready to go.
Yeah. I mean, I would highly suggest, and on the Ambiguous Podcast Solutions store, we do sell USB microphones. I'm going to do an overlay of it. Oh, yep, there it is. It's so pretty. This is the NT USB Mini Studio Quality USB microphone. It's great. You know, it just sits right on your desk. It's Rode. I trust Rode. Rode is a phenomenal, distributor, manufacturer of audio equipment. And this is a handy-dandy little microphone. You can get it in our store for $100. I don't know if you can find that cheaper anywhere else.
Very easy to use, plug and play.
Yeah, but if you are a little more experienced, if you're a business, remember the P stands for personal, the B stands for professional. If you're personal, a USB mic can be great because if it's just a hobby, it's something you want to try out, something you might not stick with, go USB and go cheap. But if you're a business and you kind of want to make yourself sound professional and a little more studio quality, go with analog, which is an XLR mic, which is pretty much what this microphone is. You can see a little plug on the bottom here is not a USB cord. It's superior in audio quality. It does require more equipment, meaning an interface, XLR cords, etc., etc. They are higher in cost. They're good for experienced podcasters, and you can record pretty much as many guests as your interface will let you.
As many inputs as you have, you can make it happen.
Exactly. So if there was four more people in this studio, and we had 4 more mics and 4 more XLR cords, we could do a podcast with 5 different people. You can't do that with XLR. If you are going to USB, excuse me. If you're going to do face-to-face interviews, you have to have these microphones. unless you split a USB mic, which will sound even worse. If you want to do, again, I'm going to repeat that. If you want in-person interviews, you have to get these kind of microphones. My question?
Definitely.
Now, kind of explain how the XLR mics, the analog mics, get rid of all the, like, what makes them more superior, other than just the fact that you plug it in the fans and all that fun stuff.
Well, to kind of dive into the USB thing, it creates what's called like a USB phantom loop. There is now people that are getting, I won't completely discount USB mics. There is an adapter that you can get will isolate and get rid of that noise.
Mm-hmm.
So if, you just get starting off, but you're like, I don't want any of that, there's a small adapter that you can get that will get rid of that. But to answer the question, analog mics, they tend to be more expensive. So what that means is that the components inside of them are more expensive. Things can be cheaply made, and things can be, made on the cheaper side, cheaper components. I'll go back to you real quick. Yep. So you could show the microphone. That is the Audio-Technica AT2020.
AT2020. I have used this mic in the past. I love this mic. Audio-Technica is another. Let me get out of the overlay. Audio-Technica is another excellent manufacturer of audio equipment. We do not sell this one on the store. We do sell one a little more higher quality, which is called the Rode NT1. It comes with a kit, so you get more than just a microphone. You get some of the other stuff in there. Links and everything in the description down below. But how you can really tell the difference between a USB and a XLR mic is simply just where am I?
Down a little bit.
Put my
there,
right there.
to the left. There you go.
You
there
see
you go.
See these three little prongs? Those three little prongs is what connects the cord, and that goes into a interface. But yeah, these little handy dandy things also.
Yeah, show them the. Why don't you plug one of those cables into it?
Plug one of the cables in.
Yeah.
So this is the XLR cord. As you can see, again, this is the male ends. You can see the three little prongs. This is also the male ends, and then the other ends. Get to the end of this cord here. I love fun playing with cords. This is the female ends. This is what you actually plug into the microphone. So this would just click, bam, right into there. And the other side would click right into your interface, which would then go into your computer.
Absolutely.
Also, what's kind of different about these mics, I don't know how USB mics kind of differentiate, but for this one in particular, you guys speak into a certain side of the microphone. So I'm kind of using a light here to find it. There is a cord that goes into the back of the actual microphone. Because this part around here is just a little cage.
Right.
The actual part you speak into, you speak right into here.
There's a coil in the front, and that's the usually the side with the label on the front is usually the front.
Yeah, you'd speak into the brand.
Right.
Pretty much. And
right.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, again, in terms of why XLR mics are better, they have more expensive components in them.
Yeah.
It's just thinking all a microphone essentially is an ear. You want a cheaper ear, or you want a more expensive ear to hear your voice in the way that it's actually being projected. Not to mention XLR mics, condenser mics specifically, because they have more expensive components, they can't just be powered by a USB cable. They need 48-volt phantom power, which is something that would be on your interface.
And yeah, the interface we got, Christian, that has the phantom power, right? It's already built in.
Yep, it's built in. You press a switch. These particular microphones don't need phantom power because they're dynamic microphones.
Right.
But a lot of podcasters will be using condenser microphones, which do require phantom power.
Do I remember when a while ago when I was podcasting, my Kings of the Rings podcast, I had Ricky and Dave in my apartment.
Right.
And my mixer didn't have the 48 volts, so I had to buy a power supply.
Really?
So I had to do XLR from the mic to the power, and then power to the mixer.
Right.
And then the other two mics were just regular, like a regular stick mic, because Ricky emceed. So it was just like a regular stick mic, like a singer would use.
Yeah.
And then
like a Shure or something.
We had two of those. So those just plugged right into the mixer, and those were fine.
Yep.
But I actually had to use this because this mic required the 48 volts.
Right.
So that was a pain because I didn't have an interface. I had an actual like guitar mixer for like music and stuff.
Right. And the thing is, if you do invest in an interface, which they're a lot cheaper now.
They are.
We're not talking about days where where people are spending thousands and thousands of dollars on a mixer. There's some that are $100.
You can get 2-channel. In most podcasts, I would not suggest you do like 3 guests or like a panel for a podcast because people can talk over each other, and it's just more expensive, and it's just more things can go wrong. It requires more computing power, all this, that, and the third. But the 2-channel interface, which we're going to get into in a little bit, is great. But the final kind of microphone is a lavalier mic, which we also sell on our store. We sell the lavalier Go professional microphone that is also made from Rode. As you can tell, a lot of Rode products, we have partnered with Rode. And you can do those either wired or wirelessly. So with that, you would have the AI micro compact audio interface. It's about this big. Yep, there it is over the screen right now. It's about that big, and you would plug both of those into that little box, and that box would go into your computer. Now, the thing about lav mics are great because they can clip right onto your lapel.
They don't get in the way. You don't got to worry about them.
Like,
set it and forget it, pretty much.
One thing about the podcast that I do like the whole gimmick of the microphone being right in my face.
Right.
Like, I like this aesthetic. I like this look. But again, if you're a business and you just don't like that look, you're more the traditional media, like a broadcast TV look. Lavalier mics are always an option. A lot of them have great quality. And you can also get the wireless system, which means that the microphone would plug into a receiver, in 2 receivers that can go on your person, so you could plug in and you can take the wires, take it down your shirt, and put it in your pocket, or hook it on the back of your belt, or do whatever you want to do with it. Those connect to a wireless receiver, which is good if you have an engineer, because like if you're sitting at this desk and Christian wants to get the microphones, doesn't need a cord to go all the way in there. The microphones will automatically connect to his receiver, and that will be plugged into the interface and go into the computer. So I have used those personally. Yep, they're on the screen right now.
Well said.
These little pouches.
You want me to switch back to you?
Yeah, these little pouches, they are excellent. They are battery charged, so if you're going to do a podcast, they do last a long time. You know, I've had them last 3 or 4 hours without any issue.
Best practice is make sure you're charged up.
Make sure they're charged up, because they can take a little while to charge. They're charged by USB-C into USB. So, they're great. I've used them on the road. I think they're outstanding. The lavalier mics are pretty solid. But again, that's just an option for you to do what you want on your podcast. But once you buy a microphone, you know, you gotta hold it on something. You're not just gonna stand there like this, like, and just hold it. They're very important for your podcast. You don't want to look like a fool holding your microphone during an interview. You're doing a podcast, not the red carpet.
Yeah, it's not exactly a performance.
Yeah, it's not a performance. You know, I mean, it is, but
right.
It's more.
I like the microphone look. If I had to choose between the lavalier, you know, having a microphone in front of you it's empowering.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, this person's about to say something, obviously, because there's a microphone there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's radio, right? Podcasting is it's the evolution of radio.
Absolutely.
And this is how radio people talk, and this is what they do. The reason why they have these things, because it's better, it's more stable. I can move this and do whatever I want with it. I like to touch things when I podcast. I'm very anime with my hands because I'm Italian. But yeah, the lav mics, you know, I can still do those things, and it's a different look and feel. But a mic stand, you got a few options here as well. So you can do one of these bad boys. This is a little heavy, which is on purpose. So this can work a bunch of different ways. Well, this is Chris. Is this microphone, Christian?
That is a microphone.
This is a microphone. Well, I just pulled out of the shock mount.
That's fine. Goes right
Cool.
back in.
Goes right back in. So this does. There's a weight on the bottom here for the size of the microphone. You know, this can be adjusted for the weight. There is is this a shock mount, Christian, or is this a regular mount?
No, that's not a shock mount. That's just a microphone mount.
This is a microphone mount?
Yeah.
So the mount holds microphone. This later screws in. Yeah, it's this little come on. It's this little knob at the end. And you screw it in. And you can still adjust this. You can adjust the height, you can adjust the size, but this can kind of get in the way. This is kind of where I draw the line and go, okay, I don't want this like too in the way of my shot because it looks a little bulky, but these are definitely cheaper. They're great options. We sell these as the DS1 desktop microphone stand. This is $30 on our store plus shipping. So that's a lot cheaper than the arm extender, which goes for $100. on our store. But the arm extender,
It's long enough to get out the shot.
yeah. So put it this way, right? It's this long.
Yeah,
Right.
it's actually longer than that.
It's
We
long-
we took a
yeah.
piece of it off to make
Yeah.
it shorter.
Did you really?
Yeah. It's much taller.
Oh, that's right. Because so the stand, how the stand works, is that it's a clamp. It clamps onto the desk. Now, it can't work with all desks. It does clamp pretty far.
No, it gets pretty wide.
It's pretty wide. I'd say it's about.
It could probably clip on a desk that's
It's
four.
about that wide, 4 or 5 inches.
Yeah, 4 or
maybe?
5 inches.
4 or 5 inches. So most desks it works, and I love.
That's a lot of wood if it's thicker than that.
Yeah, right. I love just the versatileness. I can have it curve up and on a right angle. I can do low, kind of like this.
And the end adjusts too.
And everything adjusts. I can go high and come down low. So these are good because it lets me fiddle with it how I want, right? Like if
On the
someone's
exact
if someone's
way
short,
for it to not necessarily be in
right?
the way as
If-
well.
Like if someone I can go down here, right? If I need to raise my seat all the way up, I can go all the way up here. Like the arm extender is a must for me, and I love it. We sell the Rode PSA 1 professional studio arm on sale right now for $100.
Definitely beats a traditional boom that you'll see the actual the long part, splitting you.
Yeah, and it's like you can still hide it off camera, right? Like most professional, actually, I think all professional studios use the arm. A lot of podcast studios use the arm, as they should use the arm. The desktop boom pole is also kind of like I showed. It's like what I showed is a boom pole as well as a stand. So there's another version of that stand where it just kind of sits in front and you can't really adjust it too much. This is an actual boom pole. You can kind of go back and forth. A pop filter. That's this thing, right, Christian?
Yep, that is a very small one. People are used to the one that you have sitting there right near you. For
The fly swatter.
yeah, that's kind of what it looks like. Never thought of that.
Yeah, it's a fly swatter. And now, what essentially, Christian, explain what these things actually do.
Right. So if you zoomed in on one, they have yep, so I'll let you show it. Still pretty hard to see on camera, but they have these grooves on them that essentially are on an angle. So anytime any air goes towards them, it takes it and it pushes it down. If the microphone's right here and the pop filter's right here in front of it, you speak through the pop filter and it pushes the air down before it gets to the microphone. So those P sounds, those plosives, I have a pop filter on this one. So you can see right here, it takes the air and pushes it down before it reaches the microphone. So you're not getting all those sounds and also S sounds. Without the pop filter, could move it. Pizza. You're hearing that a lot more now. Pizza. It blocks those P sounds and those S sounds. Anything that air really comes out when you say a B or a P, those type of sounds, it blocks those from getting it. So you get a much cleaner recording. Constant P sounds and S sounds could be jarring, a little bit harsh to the ear when listening to a podcast.
Yeah, these things are great. Same thing. It has a clamp right here, so you can see it screws.
Yep.
Up.
One side the clamp, and
And
then you
screws
screw it
in.
in to lock it in.
Yes, you put it right in here. Oh, come on. I got you. Right, it'll go in there. Or you can do it on the arm, the extendable arm, and you just kind of move it so it goes right in front.
Right.
The one big downside to this, though, especially this one, the fly swatter, is that it doesn't look good on camera. It'll block your face.
And those are traditionally, if you were doing a podcast, with all probability, you probably wouldn't be using that size of a pop filter.
Yeah.
Instead, you'd find something that is small, like this one. Let's see if I'll take this off quickly.
Yeah, you want to find something that covers the microphone.
And it's just covering the microphone, and
It doesn't block your face.
and it's not in the way.
And if you're doing audio only, doesn't matter. It
Yep.
can be as big as you want it to be.
Doesn't matter.
The size doesn't really matter.
But it doesn't matter if there isn't any video, but there is the factor if you are doing an in-person interview, you don't want this big thing blocking your face while you're talking to them.
Right, exactly.
Right.
Yeah, it looks kind of ridiculous. Another thing is a wind filter. Unless your podcast is outdoors, you don't need a wind filter. It's like a sock for your mic. Like news reporters have it. Like it's like if they have a microphone, it's like the little blue top to the microphone. It's like foam. And that's just so if winds blow, it filters out the wind. That's what it does.
Yep, that one's pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah, like you can have one, but we don't sell them. You don't need them because most podcasts are going to be.
And you wouldn't use that in a inside studio situation.
Won't do anything.
Well, it'll dampen the sound for no reason. You know that's kind of the trade-off. You're outside, but you don't want wind, so we'll dampen the sound a little bit to make sure there's no wind. But if you're inside, you're just making the audio sound a little bit more under a pillow for no reason. So.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, that's everything. Actually, no, I do have shock mounts. I thought I had a thing for shock mounts here, or actual just mounts. Christian, what is this? Is this a shock mount?
That is a shock mount.
So this is a shock mount. So this is something where this microphone would rest in. Now, Christian, what does a shock mount actually do?
So it's in the title. Let me see if I could grab one right here. All right. So the microphone will go in here. And if you can see, there's little, let's see if I can get a little bit closer. Little strings right here.
Yeah.
And if you shift it around, you can see it. Basically, if you tap the microphone, it doesn't make a lot of boominess because it has these wires and it's kind of suspended. The mic is suspended. It's separated from the outer layer.
Right.
The mic is only right here, so you could pull that all the way up. And if you tap it, it's not gonna, really move around too much because it's actually isolated from the outside ring. So it's a shock mount. It's in the name. It's to stop any shock, or if you bump into it. I'm bumping into this, but it's not hitting the outside. It's just kind of moving in the middle. It's suspended in the air. Yeah. So if you bump it, it's not really going to make a loud noise. Versus this microphone, if you tap it, it's connected to the arm. It's moving the whole thing.
Right. And it'll make a little thud.
And we do have a shock mount, and I actually have it right here, but it's just really large and obstructive. And we don't want this thing in our face.
Yeah, like
look how big this thing is.
We have used these in the past, but it does look a little bulky on camera. I use them at home because like my podcast, my arm is a little further away, so it works. But like for this studio setting, it would be a little too big. And most mounts fit most mics. If you give it a Google, you should be able to find out what kind of mic it is or the equivalent.
There are generic ones, but it's best practice to get one that was designed for your microphone.
Yeah. So like if you're buying an Audio-Technica mic or a Rode mic, get a Rode or Audio-Technica shock mount because they'll tell you specifically in the description what kind of microphones that shock mount is made for. So that's my advice to you. Okay, now let's move on to interfaces or mixers, whatever you want to call them. They are properly called interfaces. So there is a bunch of different interfaces you can use. One I've seen before used to great effect is the Tascam. The Tascam US 2x2 USB audio interface. Chris, you don't have a Tascam out there, do you?
Tascam interface?
Yeah.
No, I do have the Scarlett.
You have the Scarlett.
I could bring that in there if you want to showcase that.
I think we're going to talk about that in a second because I don't really know the difference, to be honest. But pros, plugs right into the computer. It's pretty affordable. Can handle XLR mics. It's portable, and it saves files on your computer. The one about the Tascam, the 2 channels, it limits you to 2 microphones. May not provide the best audio quality, less control of your sound as opposed to some other interfaces. Single track recording, and no Bluetooth support. As opposed to like the Rodecaster, which is one I use at home. But yeah, okay, now Christian, yeah, show your show the one you got.
All right, let me just grab it.
This is one we are going to sell on our store. As recording this on 1/16, it is not currently available. but coming soon to a store near you, Ambiguous Podcast Solutions, apspodcast.com/products. There it is.
So I'm gonna split screen this.
Yep. Talk to me about it, Christian. What do you love about it? What's so great about it?
What I love about it is that the sample rate is really high, meaning it goes up to I think 192 kilohertz. Higher sample rate. Samples are basically just small little pictures of your voice, so there's just more detail. However, everything we listen to and consume is at 44 and 48 anyway. So, that's not necessarily a factor, but it gives pretty quality audio for a pretty cheap price point. I believe this one is $150. A lot of people have these and they use them for, music recording. They use it for podcast recording. It has 2 inputs on this, one for a microphone, for a vocal mic. It has 48 phantom power, 48 volt phantom power. It also has an instrument input. If you were doing podcasting, you wouldn't need the instrument input. Instead, you would need 2 XLR ports. So this one has 1.
So it's a one-channel interface.
Right, but this is, we would be selling the version that has 1 and that has 2 right here. This is the headphone jack. Let's get the little plastic out of the way. Let's just take it off. Why is it on there? And there you go.
Yep, headphones go right in there, and you can listen to it. In terms of adjusting audio, can you raise the gain?
Yep. So that is
anything like
that is this knob right here.
The knobs, the gain. Yeah. What do all the knobs do? Explain.
So this is the microphone gain.
Yep.
This second gain knob is right here. That is instrument gain. Okay. On the one that we sell, it would be 2 microphones. So both of these knobs would turn up the gain, the input volume of the microphones.
And what does gain do? How I understand it, gain pretty much extends the range at which microphone can be picked up at, right?
Yep, it turns up the input volume.
Right.
So this is a quick audio lesson. You want to make sure that your input volume is really no higher than 3/4 up the meter at the highest level. So if someone's gonna laugh, you need to account for that. I always say it's better to record at a low volume and turn it up because you can always turn it up louder. But once you distort it, the damage is already done. So you record at a conservative level. And then if you want to hear it louder, turn it up in your system. Don't turn it up over here.
Right.
Right. But that's what all the buttons do. We have phantom power, we have input gain adjustment, and we have 2 inputs. We have a headphone jack, and on the back, we have the jacks that you would plug into your interface or your speakers. You would plug your speakers into this.
So how is it powered? That top left, that's just the power cord that goes into the wall.
Right. This is it's not it's not a power supply, it's USB powered. Right where my finger is.
Oh, so this goes into your computer.
Right. This
Okay.
is a USB interface.
Gotcha.
Mhm.
Okay. Cool. I've actually never fiddled around with them too much, but they're not that difficult. It pretty much just takes all the unnecessary stuff, like an actual audio mixer, and just condenses it down to exactly what you need it to do.
Yep. Audio mixers, they tend to be used for live. These are specifically for recording.
Yeah, I wish I knew more about that 8 years ago when I started.
Yeah.
Because that would have made my life a ton easier. But
that is the Focusrite Scarlett Solo. I think we will be selling the Scarlett Solo as well as the Scarlett 2i2, which stands for 2 inputs.
Yep. And you can get them up to as many inputs as it can allow, but the more inputs, the more expensive it is.
Yeah, I think they even have a 16 channel, or 24 channel. They go up pretty there.
Pretty
and
quick.
Focusrite is a really good brand.
Yeah, and we are partnered with them as well to sell their equipment. And it's 1-to-1.
They do everything
will
from
be
budget to even pro studio level, which
Right.
is what I like about them.
Yeah. So again, if you're gonna be a business and you want to do your own recordings, buy those. Buy those because they're gonna be your best friend. If you are a podcaster who's been using USB for a while and you want to upgrade, buy the interface. If you're alone, you can do it alone. If you're with guests, you can do it with guests. If you're remote, you can still do it remote. Actually, I think.
And the good thing about those is that they're portable.
Let me ask you that, Christian. With that interface, the Scarlett interface, say you were using the interface and I was at home on Zoom, and we were on Zoom.
Yeah.
You could connect your interface, get your audio through Zoom, but how would you get mine into Pro Tools? Could you do that through the interface?
through this interface, I would get mine into so we do that currently here whenever we have a Zoom virtual guest.
Right.
So
But could you do that through your Scarlet?
through my Scarlet. Yes. Yes. So what I would do is it's a little bit complicated of an answer, but I could tell you. Essentially, you would set up an output. It's called aggregate output on Mac. I don't know what it's called on Windows, but basically you'd have a multi-output device set up. It'd have two inputs. Let's say you call it Zoom virtual guest. You could call it whatever you want. And it would have both this output and input and also your computer's input and output, and you would just do the proper routing in Pro Tools. But it can be done.
Okay.
It can be done. And certain interfaces have their own virtual inputs and outputs that you could use as well to accomplish that. But yes, I believe you can. You definitely can.
Okay. Yeah, 'cause that'd be big. So like if I had like a single channel interface, mine's like 6 or 7, or I think mine might be up to 8 channels. I don't remember. But if I had my stuff going through the interface, recording on Audition, and then the guest on Zoom would also go into Audition, preferably in a multi-track, but if not, it could be one track. You can do that from the Scarlet.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. All right. Now, if you're experienced like me, it doesn't quite want to go the full studio route, which like Christian does, with like the board, the heat, and like the crazy computer and all that fun stuff, you can get a Rodecaster Pro. We are able to sell these. We currently do not, but in the future we could because they're awesome. So the Rodecaster Pro is the podcast production studio. It will do everything you need. Everything. This is the all-in-one interface. Anything I would ever need from a mixer or an interface that I'm never going to buy another one. I don't need to. I'm doing it from home. It allows for recording on multi-track. So I can do 4 microphones, remote, phone, and Bluetooth, and a sound pad. So that's how many? That's 4. Phone, Bluetooth, sound pad, 8. It's an 8-channel mixer. I can do remote interviews, and it has top-notch audio quality. It acts as a soundboard, so I can upload sounders. So like, for example, when I hop on a Zoom meeting for a recording for Talking with Tarashuk, I tell the guest, hey, man, I'm just going to hear an intro, and in about 60 seconds, we're going to get started. I play my Talking with Tarashuk intro. One, it sounds really cool. The guest is really impressed. It's something they've never heard before, guaranteed, because most podcasts don't podcast like I do. Or if like my wrestling podcast, I have sound effects like zingers, like Ric Flair going, woo! I can upload that into my soundboard, which is really cool. Editing and multi-track, it's the, Christian, is it the AISO input?
ASIO?
ASIO. Explain how that works.
That is essentially a sound card, a programmable sound card.
It's like a digital sound card.
Where you can plug in what you want that sound card to represent. So, let's say you want to have your inputs from your microphones plug in. Like, okay, I'll give you an example. If you want, let's say you want, okay, I got microphones plugged into this. That's the input. But for some odd reason, I want the audio to come out my computer speakers, not my interface speakers, not my mixer speakers. You could set up the sound card in that way. So essentially, you open up, I think it's called ASIO 4 Hall. It's a very Windows thing. I haven't used it in a very long time.
It is very Windows.
You could open that thing up and say, okay, I want this to be this. I want this to be this. And then when you open up a program, it'll be like, what do you want what's your sound card? You click on that ASIO 4 Hall, and it will have all those programmed features included on that output. So for this computer, I could make it, if I had my Scarlett plugged in, it could be Scarlett Solo USB. Or because I'm using my Apollo interfaces, it could be Universal Audio. But if I had an ASIO 4 Hall, I could click on ASIO 4 Hall, and whatever I plugged into that will be the sound card inputs and outputs and everything included. Also had one thing to add about the Scarlett. I just looked it up. Some of them have a loopback feature, which basically is built into the interface, virtual channels that allow you to record other sources that are on your computer.
So it acts as a USB input.
Basically,
Right.
virtual ones.
Virtual USB input.
So you could be like,
Excellent.
oh, I want to record from my browser. Like what if
Yep.
I'm playing a YouTube video,
Yep.
or if I have Zoom open.
Yep.
These kind of things.
That's exactly how the Rodecaster does it.
Is it called loopback?
I don't know if it's called loopback. It's just called a USB input.
Right. And I will say, apparently it doesn't apply to all of the Scarletts, but some of them. But that's a useful feature. And if it doesn't have that feature on your particular Scarlett, my first explanation would be the workaround.
Right. And the Rodecaster also records everything on a micro SD, so records from the mixer. So if you don't have like recording software, you can plug in a micro SD card and record it straight from the mixer. The Rodecaster also has these inputs. So like this microphone is the RE20. If I plug in this microphone into a Rodecaster, I can go into the settings and it'll auto configure towards an RE20, which is pretty cool. And they'll give you the suggested settings for like the gain and everything through their touchscreen channels.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
It's like, yeah, I can adjust the gain on the mixer, like through the touchscreen. I can do different things through the touchscreen. I can turn certain things on and off through the touchscreen. I haven't even done the full thing what I can do with it because I just use it for what I need it for. But it's really cool. The Bluetooth is really cool. The Bluetooth supported. So say I had a phone call, I can connect them via Bluetooth, or I can hardwire them in through my phone. So I can connect the phone into the mixer. But the Bluetooth is really cool. So yeah, it's phenomenal. I love it. It's very expensive. It's like $500-600. But if you've been podcasting for a long time, it took me 6 years before I bought it, and I haven't looked back. It's incredible.
Nice.
Okay, other types of equipment, and we'll wrap this stuff up and go home. Headphones. You can use earbuds, but
I wouldn't recommend it.
These kind of headphones are very, very important. These are Sony MDR7506 professional large diaphragm headphones. I also use Audio-Technica studio headphones, like $70. They're great. The thing about studio headphones is I can hear everything, like very, very clear, and it blocks out everything else outside
because of the pillows on it.
Because of the pillows on it. So if I sound a little low and Christian sounds high, I can hear that in these headphones. I wouldn't necessarily hear it through like earbuds or AirPods.
Not to mention, earbuds don't typically come 1/4-inch jack.
Correct.
They're usually eighth,
Yeah,
the small jack. And to go even further, you're like, oh, well, I have wireless ones. That's even worse, and I'll tell you why. There may be a delay.
There's definitely going to be a delay.
Because it's wireless.
It's going to be ever so slight.
And, it might not be a big deal if you're both using the earbuds. But if one person's completely wired in and hearing it is exactly the time you're saying it, and then you're hearing a delay, you're going to start talking over each other.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Like if you're doing a Zoom call and you got mismatched internet speeds. You can get that talk over. So I would recommend investing in, a pair of headphones. They don't have to be the 7506s. I think these are about $100, Will?
7506. Let me check. I have a little Amazon link here. These are $80.
Yep, they went down. I think they were $99.
Yeah, they're $99.
Yep.
Currently on sale for $80. They're great. They're super comfy. When I'm at home with my Audio-Technica, even sometimes when I'm here, I like doing one in, one out.
Right.
It's because I like to hear what's
your
going on around me.
your real voice compared to the the voice that's going into the microphone.
It's also if I'm with a guest in studio, I like to hear both. I don't know. It's a habit I picked up a long time ago and I never dropped it. I do the same thing with headphones. You will never see me with two headphones in. If like for wireless earbuds or wired earbuds, I always do
Self-awareness is key.
Yeah, like if I'm walking down the street, especially in a city, like I want to hear my surroundings as well as the podcast I'm listening to. Hopefully, it's Talking with Tarashuk. Yeah. So, headphones are a must. You don't need to go super expensive, but they are definitely a must. And if even like I think the Audio Technicas don't have a 1/4-inch jack attached to it, so you got to buy one.
So these are used recreationally as well as they are used as professional. So I'm gonna unplug my jack real quick. I'm not gonna hear you real quick, but let me show you.
Yeah, if you're watching on video, if you're watching, let's listen to this in audio. Oh, go ahead, Christian.
This is the jack for the thing, but it comes off. So if you're if you like to listen to things, you like to listen to music, you like to listen to podcasts, you could plug this into your phone.
Yep.
You know,
If
obviously,
it
if you have an
still
iPhone, you got to get an adapter, but that's the world. You know, Android users, you just plug it right in.
Mm-hmm.
But if you want to go to the studio, throw it on, screw it on. I'm going to hear you back in a second because I haven't heard you all this time.
Yeah, I know. I've been talking to myself. And again, if you're on video, if just listen to the audio, go watch the video on YouTube. Clips are available, shorts are available on TikTok and Instagram, and the full video with chapters is available on YouTube.
Okay, I could hear you again.
Awesome. So yeah, that's essentially it. You know, it's a regular headphone jack, just bigger. You know, if the headphones don't have it automatically, because the interfaces need the 1/4-inch for the most part.
I like the ones that screw off.
Yes.
Just so you always you got a headphone that you could use for two different uses.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then other than that, those are the super cheap. Those are usually like under $10.
Which ones?
The audio jack, the screw-on ones.
Oh, they're much cheaper than that. You could get a pack of 4 of those things, those adapters, for probably $10 off Amazon.
Yeah, Amazon. I'm looking right now. Let's see, how many is this? This is 2 of them for $8.99. And yeah, I can't tell you how many I've lost.
It's always good to keep a couple on hand.
Yeah. Last thing is an audio splitter. Now, that is just if you don't have the studio set up, but you still want to have you and your guest have headphones in your home studio with an interface. You can plug an audio splitter in, and what that does is it splits the feeds. So
I actually have something to say about that.
Go ahead.
That's a little bit better. You could get an audio splitter. Let's say like this interface, for example.
Yeah, put that camera on you.
Let's go to the big view. Here we go. You only have in the corner here. Other side. There you go.
Yep.
You got one jack.
Yep.
Problematic. However, these are supposed to go to your speakers. Unplug them from your speakers. You got 2 more jacks.
So you put both headphones in there.
Yep. If you wanted to, you could put 3 because you got one on the front.
Yep.
And then you got two more that are supposed to go to your speaker outputs. That's left and right. But you're dealing with a voice. There is no left and right. It's just center. Plug them right into there. You got two extra headphone outputs.
Well, there you go. It's a cheat code. The Rodecaster Pro has 4 automatically built in for the first 4 microphones.
Very nice.
So it's 5. It's the master which controls all of them. Then 1, 2, 3, 4. So like if I'm hard of hearing, I need to turn mine up, and you're not because you're normal, I would turn yours down.
Right.
So, but if for some reason you don't have that option, you can put the audio splitter in and plug both headphones into that and make two inputs become one. An audio splitter is like,
and it doesn't affect the sound of the recording. Most importantly.
Yeah, it doesn't even affect the sound of how you hear it. It doesn't slow it down or anything. It's going to 2 places instead of 1. But yeah, that's audio hardware. Christian, anything else we missed, and for people should know what they need to buy when they're getting hardware for the podcast?
Just taking a look here. We covered pop filters, wind filters, boom, microphones.
Different microphones, pros and cons of USB versus XLR.
Yep, interfaces, and headphones is really the last thing that you need. Let's see, have we got anything else? No, I think that's it. That's it. Audio splitter, 1/4-inch jack if your thing doesn't come equipped with it. To transform it. Yeah, and we already covered software and everything on our other episode. So I think we summed it up pretty well.
So a good question is, if I'm starting my podcast, what should I budget for equipment? Depending on what you need, I would say between $300 and $500 for actual equipment.
Yep, I think three's kind of the minimum. You could go a little bit cheaper, but still very close to that range.
Yeah, and that will pretty much do.
And
what
the
you need
thing
to
that
do.
you should spend the most money on is your interface and your mic.
Yeah.
You could deal with a pair of cheap headphones.
You can get cheap XLR cords, you can get cheap headphones. You don't necessarily need the pop filter. Like the pop filter and the arm and stuff is
Makes
extra.
editing after the fact, getting some of those S's out better.
Yeah.
But I'd say if you were to 60 to 70% should be interface and mic.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
But that wraps up. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening and watching our How to Start a Podcast series. We did these a little out of order, but that's because things get in the way when you want to start a business. So my name is Will Tarashuk, T as in Thomas, Arashuk. All of our other tutorials are on YouTube in a playlist. The How to Start a Podcast series, including how to come up with an idea, how to edit, how to distribute, the software you need. Everything is on in big Talking with Tarashuk YouTube channel, and wherever else we put it in the future. All the audio is available on multiple playlists. So if you listen to Talking with Tarashuk feed, this is the all playlist. It's on there. All the clips will be on there. The full shows, it's on there. The podcast feed, it's all on there. So this one piece of audio is already on 4 playlists, listed on Spotify 4 times, listed on iTunes 4 times, listed on Google 4 times. You go in and type in Talking with Tarashuk on Spotify, look what comes up. It's 10 different options. I'm sorry, you're welcome. Christian, where can I find you?
You can find us at cuberecordingstudios.com. Look up Cube Recording Studios on any map program, Apple Maps, Waze. We're listed. Find us on Google, Cube Recording Studios, located in Montclair, New Jersey, or Instagram.com/Cube Recording Studios, and you will find us handling all things audio and video. That's it.
All right. Christian, I have a few more guests popping up. People are starting to find me, asking me to come on the podcast, which is very exciting, meaning I don't have to ask people to come on anymore. But as soon as I don't and kind of hit a brick wall, we're going to do some more unknown, unnamed nonsense. So that's coming back in a few weeks to maybe a month or two.
Looking forward to it. Gotta brainstorm some thought-provoking and ridiculous questions.
All of our questions are still in. If you want to be a guest on my podcast, email me, will@apspodcast.com, and let me know why. Someone from TikTok's coming on. Someone from Facebook's going to come on. Maybe a U.S. veteran. Someone who is a chief revenue officer for like some kind of crypto exchange might come on. I got to find more info about that. My cousin Christopher wants to come back, do some unknown to unnamed nonsense. You know, a lot of fun stuff is coming. I'm going to bring someone else from TikTok on to debate the minimum wage. So that's going to be a lot of fun. More stuff is coming through the pipeline, ladies and gentlemen. My podcast journey is just getting started. I'm glad you're along for the ride with me. But I'll see you there. But until then, y'all take care.